This video is for those of you that are just getting started in the licensing business and you have no idea what to do. You're excited, you're motivated, but you maybe are a little bit of intimidated. Maybe you don't feel like your tracks stack up to the competition. You're not ready to submit to libraries, or maybe you feel like you just don't really know what you'd even be getting yourself into if you got a contract with the library, and you just don't know what your next move should be. And you're spending hours scouring the internet looking for tutorials or information, or you're stumbling across my channel trying to learn as much as you can, but you still don't really know what your next step is. What should you be doing on a regular basis to get yourself closer to doing this full time? Well, you always got to bring it back to and boil it back to what your job title is. So what is your job title if you're going to be getting into the music licensing business? You are a professional music producer. That's your job title, right? You are here to produce music. That's your whole job. That's the only thing that you are doing here. That's your only responsibility. So what should you be doing every single day? Producing music. This sort of connects back to the last video I posted, which was, if you're not finishing your tracks, I challenge you for 30 days to just finish the damn track that you're working on, and don't give yourself any outs. Don't give yourself any excuses for why you can close that session and not hit bounce. You need to finish the thing even if you don't love it and move on to the next one. When you are a professional music producer, even if you're not making it your full-time income yet, okay? So I know probably most of you watching this channel, it's not your full-time income yet. You're on your way. I understand that. But you need to fake it until you make it, okay? So if you want your future job title to be actually professional music producer, making your full-time income from your royalties to the performance royalties that you earn from getting your placements on TV shows, movies, and commercials, what would your life look like then? Well, you'd be waking up every single day probably, or most days. Give yourself a day off here and there, right? But you'd be waking up every day, going into your studio, cranking out tracks. That's what you'd be doing. That's your job. You are a professional music producer for the licensing business. So what you need to do is, even though you're not there yet, transform and transmit that future life and that schedule, and as much as you possibly can. Granted, you have a day job, you have other obligations, but squeeze as much of that future job title into your current life right now. Meaning, every day, if you can, make producing music the first thing you do, right? Wake up before work. Try to schedule some time before you have to go to your job or go to school or whatever you've got to do, and put yourself in the mindset of, I'm a professional music producer, so what should I do? I should just produce music. Now, even if you don't have any contracts with the library, you don't feel your tracks are up to par, and you're kind of worried, well, I don't want to keep making music that's not going to get licensed because it's actually going to be wasting time. I want to just learn how to produce better music by watching a bunch of tutorials and taking a bunch of courses or something in order to get better. There is a time and place for tutorials and for videos and for all that stuff, okay? But that's literally 10% of the battle, is getting the information and getting the knowledge about how to improve your tracks. That's literally the easy part. Watching a tutorial, watching a video, anybody can do, okay? The 90% of the real work that it takes to actually improve your productions is you sitting in your studio producing music. It doesn't mean that every track has to be something you're eventually going to get placed or even do, but you know, and you can know this for yourself through your own experience, that every time you produce a track, you learn something new. And it might just be a tiny little thing. You might have learned a little trick with EQ, a little trick with using a better sample here and there, a little bit of a side chaining compression that you started using. Whatever it is, every time you produce a track, you learn something a little bit, a little new. You put, let me rephrase that. That was horribly phrased. You learn something new every time you produce a track, even if it's a small little trick that you can put in your tool bag to say, hey, next time I produce a trick, I've got this new kind of cool thing that I can do. My first producer name, and I guess I still kind of go by it, I don't really anymore, was Nifty Trick. And that name came because every time I produced a song, I would learn something. I was like, oh, that's a kind of a nifty trick, right? Like I would maybe stack two kicks together and mess with their EQ so that one of them gave me the high click attack and the other one gave me the low thud bass end. And I was like, that's a nifty little trick. And every time I produced tracks, I just started accumulating dozens, hundreds of these little nifty tricks that would kind of go into my metaphorical tool belt that I could pull out anytime, and it all made me a better producer. Now, I can learn some of those things from tutorials and from videos, but you're not going to have it in your muscle memory. You're not going to have it in your bones. You're not going to have it in your body unless you put your hands on the keyboard and you start clicking the mouse and you start getting deep into your DAW and creating your own shortcuts and creating templates and sort of creating the shortcuts to help you stay productive and produce tracks as quickly as possible and as efficiently as possible, okay? So that's what I challenge you guys to be doing every day. And I tell syndicate members this all the time when they're like, well, I don't really feel like I can submit to your opportunity right now, and I don't feel like anything's really relevant to what my genre is. All right. Are you going to wait for the world to kind of kick your butt to say, hey, you should be making music? Or should you just be taking that on yourself to say, hey, do I have a full album that's ready to be submitted to a library yet? No? That's what I'm going to do. You know, that might take me a month. That might take me 6 months. I don't care how long that takes me. I'm going to, if it takes me writing 100 tracks to get 10 or 12 of them that are good to go and are up to par with the licensing standards out there compared to other catalogs and libraries out there, then that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to dedicate myself to put myself through my own little boot camp and crank out as many tracks as possible to stack up as many of those nifty tricks as possible. So that in the long run, after many months, after maybe even 6 months, even a year, however long, you know, we're all on our own path here, okay? You shouldn't be comparing yourself to somebody else. Go at your speed. To go, you know, start with where you are and be honest with your weaknesses of where you're maybe, you know, falling short in your producing, mixing, musical skills, whatever it is, and start improving those every single day. But remember, your job title is music producer. So if you're not producing music on a regular basis, almost every single day, then you're doing something wrong. I don't know what it is. Maybe you're watching too many videos. Maybe you're getting too distracted, but you should be producing something. And even if it's just, you know, I had one producer that actually had a great idea, which was sort of, even if you don't feel like completing a full track, write a riff, right? Write a 4-bar little cool thing. And then maybe that'll inspire you to write a second bar. That could be like, okay, that's a cool verse. This is an idea for a bridge. This is an idea for a chorus. You don't have to finish that track right away, but at least you did something that day. You got something started, and maybe tomorrow you feel a little bit more enhanced, a little bit more motivated, a little bit more, okay, I'm going to go for this. You hit play on that. It's like, yeah, actually, I'm feeling this now. Let me try to build on that. Something every day. Just put your hands on the keyboard every single day and produce something. You got to make yourself, it's like you got to justify your existence every day in this business. And the only way to really do that is to never hang your pride on what you did yesterday. Every single day I wipe the slate clean and I'm like, I'm nobody today. I got to prove why I've got a place in this business today with this new track that I'm producing. Sounds like torture. Maybe us artists, producers, musicians, we kind of do that. We torture ourselves, but it's sort of it's the kick in the butt that I need to make sure that I'm not getting stuck in the past and thinking about stuff that I used to do, but I'm always thinking about the future. I'm thinking about today. What can I do to make myself a better producer today, to push myself harder, and what can I do in the future to challenge myself to go bigger and beyond where I've gone in the past. So just produce music, guys. That's the message for today's video. Just keep producing.